All right, welcome to another edition of the Mile High Real Estate Spotlight Podcast. And I'm Brian Arnold, and I'm just so excited today. We have Brandon Gray on today, who is just one of those people who just works the whole Denver metro area. So he is very inept and knows all the areas, what they do. But one of the things one of the biggest reasons that I really love the fact that he's on here is he does credit repair. He helps people figure out this thing called credit. I did a thing on my mindset yesterday just on credibility. Are you credible? Do you make it to your places on time? Do you have an 800 FICO score in your life on the things you do? But how, this thing called credit and how important it is, and finding somebody who can help you because it determines kind of your rate. It determines, the zip code that you get to live in. It determines all these things. You couple that with the real estate, and now you have a 100% winning concept or team that can help you get what you want, especially if you're a first-time home buyer. And then first-time home buyer is what Brandon specializes in. And I say this often: if you're paying $2,000 a month of rent, that's $24,000 a year that you're paying to somebody else's mortgage. That's if you stay there for 10 years, $240,000 that you are spending to live in somebody else's home. And why not spend it on you? And if there's one person, and he's here right now, that can help you figure out how to transition from that apartment living over to ownership. It's Brandon. And so, Brandon, thank you for being on today. I'm so excited to hear from you and all the busy things that you got going on and places like that. If you could first tell people how to get a hold of you, because I want to make sure we don't lose that, and then maybe kind of go into your story a little bit of who you are, where you're at, that type of stuff.
Sure. Yeah. With any growing business, there's multiple ways of getting a hold of me. But on the real estate end, I have a website, sellorbuyguy.com, or you could just text me at 720-790-5651. Then credit repair, which we'll dive into both of these, it's coloradocreditconsulting.com, and that number is 720-575-1250. And then, I'm in my past life, in terms of employment, I was an accountant, and I like being an accountant, but realized I'm much more of a people person and much more interested in getting out and helping people instead of being chained down to a cubicle punching numbers all day. And so about 5 years ago, got into real estate and have just been hustling ever since, and really carved out a niche just via my brokerage. We specialize in the first-time home buyer. Colorado First-Time Home Buyer is the DBA of Start Real Estate that I work in, and we really hit that first-time home buyer, and they've just been loving it. And I love the unique scenarios that brings, and being able to hit that hard. And many of the scenarios that actually brings is need to get the credit to where it needs to be able to purchase a home. So that's sent me down a few different paths in terms of my career. Obviously brokering, but also credit repair and rentals and handyman services, things like that really help, I think, what is an underserved community.
Oh, that's great. Well, Brandon, where are you from? Where did you grow up? Where are you hailed from? You're here in Colorado now,
Yeah.
right?
You're right. So no, this is home now. Colorado is home. Originally, I'm from the state of Indiana,
Okay.
Hoosier. Yep.
All right. Got you.
Originally
Okay.
been out west, between a few states, but really fell in love with the West, fell in love with the mountains. So I'm here to stay for good.
Oh, that's good. That's kind of like my wife. She, she's a California girl. I grew up here. I grew up here, went to California for a while, found her. Now that she's here, I'm like, maybe we could go to Arizona or Texas. So she's like, no,
Sure.
we are staying here, and we're staying here forever. So
Oh,
she
for
makes
sure.
that happen. So
Love it
Brandon,
here.
I know you said your niche is like that first time. If I'm a first time buyer and I just don't have no clue what to do, I come to you. What are some of the things that you're going to do with me? How are you going to help me figure out and navigate this thing I have no idea about?
Good question. At the end of the day, the main things that's going to occur is I'm going to ask you a few questions to see where you're at. Are you full-time employed? I have many questions that a typical lender would ask, but are you employed? How many hours? What's your credit score? Do you have a bankruptcy within the last 2 years, a foreclosure within the last 3 years? those items to see where you're at in your financial life to see if you could purchase a home. Frankly, those are some of the more preliminary questions we'd review. And then, of course, that's tied into what area you're looking to buy in. How many bedrooms do you need? How many bathrooms do you need? Are you looking townhome, condo? Are you looking single family home? Things of that sort. So we're checking all those boxes, and depending on the answers to those, that's going to give me the solution. Whatever your answer is to any one of those items, I'll be able to present a solution, whether it's a low credit score or if your credit score is sufficient, but you don't have employment, then we're reaching out to, employment agencies. There's just so many things to get you to where you need to be. Definitely with certain, with just your average Joe, just looking to, whether they're 20 or 50, looking to purchase their first home. There's so many things that's unique to the individual, and being able to provide my experience, tools, and resources to get them to where they need to be is exactly what I do. But it all starts out with me asking you questions.
Gotcha. Now, a lot of people come to me and they say, well, I'm in Colorado. They tell me it's so expensive to buy a home in Colorado. And then they say, but I don't think my credit's where it needs to be in order to buy a home. In that range, and I know it varies a lot, but when you're working with somebody, when they come to you and ask you that question, where does my credit need to be in order to afford a home in the Denver metro area? Is there, advice that you give on that?
Good question. And at the end of the day, there's so many different programs, whether you're using down payment assistance or whatnot. But a good rule of thumb is what a traditional financing, and obviously you could speak to this, a 580 credit score is where you want to be bare minimum with you bringing a down payment. Otherwise, there's programs as low as 600 or 620 on credit score, and that's your middle score that you could qualify for programs and qualify for financing. And so that's usually where you want to be. Now, if you're there or not, that's a different scenario. If you're not, bringing on someone that's an expert in the field is definitely a great route to go. But if you're already there, then we're focusing on other things. We're looking at debt to income ratio and so forth. We're making sure you have room for a mortgage. It's comfortable. We're talking what XYZ house that you're interested in, what that would cost you per month, things of that sort. So there's so many different ways to handle it. And just having someone in your corner is really the first best step.
Yeah, that is so true. And so the other thing is that people are, saying, well, there's not a house that I can buy in all of Colorado. What do you tell somebody who just, people have been talking to them, especially first time home buyers. One of the biggest mistakes that I think that I see a lot is they're talking to their friends and relatives who are not homeowners, who have never owned a home, that have never been in this arena. And they're the ones who are telling them this dream is impossible. There's nowhere to find. How do you combat that? Or what do you tell people?
The very first thing I do with those types of clients is I schedule an eye doctor appointment so they could see what's out there.
I love it.
But in reality, people that have that mentality aren't looking or aren't looking in the right places. Okay. I could assure you, if they're saying there's nothing that you could buy, there's nothing, this, that, the other thing. The answer is there is. As long as you're making a reasonable income, which is most people, we're talking probably 95% of people with stable employment, they're making reasonable employment. Fortunately, I think Colorado as a whole, I know we're in some interesting times right now with inflation and a higher cost of living, but Colorado as a whole does a decent job on ensuring that people are compensated. And so with that, and as long as you're not too overly indebted, we have a clear path to finding you a house. And people might think, oh, there's no way I could afford that $400,000 house, that $375,000 house. Believe it or not, those are Denver prices. I could find you a house, $375,000, $425,000. There's homes in the Denver metro at those price points, and there's no other question about it. That's why if you're throwing a fit that you can't find that, you need an eye appointment or you need to call me, one of the two.
I gotcha. It'd probably call you is a little bit better, just so they can.
Your eye doctor might be a little confused if you called them that's telling you can't find any houses.
You can't find a house. Although my LASIK guy just got LASIK not too long ago, he said, yeah, you can see far now. You can even see into the future.
I like it. Well, you'll have to give me that contact.
I know. I wish I could exactly know that. And you think about the Denver minimum wage has gone up and it continues to go up. if you're a two-person household that is working at minimum wage in Denver, that's almost, that's pretty much enough to be able to afford something, in the area. Now, I do tell people a lot that, and this happens with some real estate agents that haven't been in. I don't understand where they may start showing properties before they know what the person can qualify. Then they get them excited about something that's in this level. Like, let's go out to Southeast Aurora and look at $800,000 houses, and
You're
they
right.
can really afford 300s. Do you run into anybody who's come to you after they've had that experience, maybe where they've looked at stuff that they can't afford, and then you're trying to put them into, this is what you can for now, but it might be the right place to go, and then move up?
Countless times. And at the end of the
Okay.
day, people run in, like I work with a lot of people that have tried an agent before, or they tried rent to own scenarios, things like that before. And it's just very challenging for those programs to pan out, or some agents that are inexperienced to pan out. Because if you're looking at $800,000 house, but the numbers say you're approved at 450, this just false wishes. If anything, they should run the numbers and say, hey, this is what an $800,000 house would cost you monthly. And that's one way to get people to not,
Yeah.
where definitely as a first time home buyer. So I think with this clientele base, knowing me as an agent, though I'm not the lender, but knowing the numbers is important. Okay, with my clients, we talk income, we talk debts, and then I give them an idea. Okay, this is your income and your debts. You're roughly going to be approved for XYZ, And so then they're like, oh, that makes sense. And I'm like, but that's not official. It doesn't hold water. Don't worry about it too much. But if anyone's wanted to preliminarily look, that there's no way I'm showing them the house until I just run the numbers with them and make sure it makes sense. So that's the big thing. And yeah, so I would say, but obviously going with the lender, getting pre-approved first is by far the superior route to take.
But Brian, here's what I love about you right now. And I'm just so excited because you are a numbers person who actually talks to people and is good with people.
It's a weird duo, weird
Yeah,
combination.
that just, I mean, that doesn't work all the time. And so I'm going to ask you just for a quick class here, because this is something that people, when I'm trying to explain it, and maybe I just don't do as well of a job, is these thing called debt ratios, the back end and the front end, and where I should be and how much I should have, and my debt versus my income. If you could just give us a quick, synopsis of what does that mean when we talk about a debt ratio and what you think somebody can afford. And somebody comes to them and says, well, your housing expenses have to be under 30%, that type of stuff. What would you say to somebody who's trying to understand that logically in their mind, and kind of, maybe you can just break it down a little bit so people understand? I know you weren't expecting to answer that question.
No. I like that question a lot. And this is the thing. I go over that all the time with my buyers. So at the end of the day, what matters is if you can afford the monthly payment. Now, between your agent and the lender, you should be able to come to a estimate of what your monthly payment would be before you submit an offer. Before you even viewed that home, you should have an idea what it is. Now, at the end of the day, that's up to you. But if you're reading over here that it should only be 25% of your income, but over here it says it should only be 30% of your income, I would say there's a whole lot of noise out there. At the end of the day, what makes sense is hey, can I afford this $2,600 payment or whatever? Is that comfortable? And I think what people need to realize is how lenders calculate things. Now, by no means am I going to go through the specifics on what every financing term is, but if you take your gross income before taxes, take half of that. So say you're making $5,000, take per month, gross income per month, $5,000, take half of that, that's $2,500. Most loans are going to say, hey, you could spend $2,500 towards a mortgage minus any of your monthly debt payment obligations. So if you have think about it, if you have a $700 car loan, that's going to be deducted from that $2,500. And so you're looking at $1,800, or now you're at $1,800 per month. And so you could see how accumulated debts could really hurt on using healthy debt, such as a mortgage. And so bottom line, it's pretty simple arithmetic. If you take your gross income, divide half, subtract out any of your monthly payment obligations, whether that's credit card, student loans, personal loan, car loan, etc. That's what you'd be looking at in terms of what a lender would say you could use. Now, it's ultimately up to you, though the lender might approve you for it, it's up to you whether you want to use all of that, if you're comfortable with that or not. Now, I mean, that income is going to be based off of full-time employment, or if it's self-employed, it needs 2 years worth of tax returns. So those items, there's a variety of other things I go over on a per client basis, but that's a good rule of thumb for people to do quick mental mathematics.
Oh my God, that is so awesome. Now, we have all these millennials here that are wanting. I assume you're probably one of them, but all these millennials who are wanting to
I
buy
am.
houses that are those 50 million of them that are out there. And one of the biggest, I was just reading something the other day where it said their biggest issue of being able to buy a home is their student loans. And now that it's October and student loans are due, and I think our government has gone crazy on the amount of money that they're asking for on these payments. What are you telling this group of people as far as, hey, it's great to have a house, and I know you got student loan debt, and that's going to last for a long time. Are you still saying that, hey, it's probably okay to start looking and be in a house? They got pretty good incomes, a lot of them, but the
Very
student
good,
loan
yeah.
is scaring people. What are you talking to people about with the student loans?
Good question, and it's a tricky one. With student loans, it's interesting because that's debts that you can't get rid of until you pay it off. It's very interesting debt, but at the end of the day, I think people should have thought through things when they took out the loans in terms of where they would be. Now, on a lender's perspective, your monthly payment has to, as a lender, you're going to say they're going to be paying roughly 1% of that per month until it's done. Sometimes there's different scenarios, but in most cases, people with high student loans or any student loans have a job that's hopefully proving why they took out the student loan. So as long as the numbers make sense, I think people would be foolish not to move forward with purchasing a home. Because think about your student loan. You have this thing that's tied to you and you have to pay it off. Now think about a mortgage. It's a thing that's tied to an asset that you can sell. You can't sell your student loans. Given the numbers make sense and you didn't over indebt yourself with student loans, because there's no easy solution besides paying them off, but given you didn't over indebt yourself and you have the finances for it, purchase a home, because now you have a sellable, scalable asset that's going to, it's going to ride the wave of the economy. But at that rate, you have something you own instead of paying someone else's mortgage. So
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's important that people check in to see, because I loved your thought. I hope you thought about this before you got it. But we know how, like, what 19-year-old goes, oh yeah, that your dad,
you're right.
everybody in the world told you to go to school. You go to school, you get this good education, or so hopefully this education, and then you get out of there and they're going, okay, pay, 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 pay. And for a lot of us who never got those numbers or never got the degree in finances, kind of understand that. But there are ways and there are programs and there are places where you need to check into it, because you're not appreciating any kind of asset at all if you're just, especially if you're renting. If you're living at home with mom and dad and they're not charging you rent, then that might be a great thing for a while till your girlfriend says, no, I don't want you living with your mom and dad.
You're right. You're right. Yeah. She wants the house.
She wants that house and
house.
wants to begin a family and that kind of stuff. One of the questions that I love to ask people is about superpowers. And, if I'm looking at you and you say, I'd love for you to tell us what the superpower, if you could have any superpower, what would that be? And then in this industry, what do you think you do best at? What is that superpower that somebody could go, hey, I want to go see Brandon because he is super good at this?
Good question. Now, initially, okay, if I was going to have any superpower in this industry, it's 100% what does the future hold exactly?
Okay.
That's always, it's seeing the future, Now, obviously that's off the table. Can't quite get that one, but what I provide is extreme diligence, expertise, where I have hundreds of deals under my belt. So I've worked with hundreds of people and helping them purchase a home. So, I've seen just about every scenario, and that includes yours. And with that expertise, you're walking in with the guy that's going to get the job done exactly how you need it to be done, specific to you. And diligence, where I'm the type of guy, my clients are texting me at 8, 9 p.m. They're texting me at 7, 8 a.m. If they're texting me on the weekends, they're calling me on the weekends, I'm there. I think more than anything within real estate, in addition to the expertise, the diligence is presence. I'm there. If you want to see a house today, I'm there. And if I can't be there, I will have someone there for you at no expense to you. And just that sort of thing. So, you always have someone in your corner that you can call on. And I think that's what's made the world of a difference so far in my career and will continue to do so.
That is so huge because there's so many people. Well, don't call me on the weekend or don't call me Friday, and but that house just came up, and that house is going to be on the market. And if a whole bunch of other people look at it, they might take it and they might put the offer, and then I don't get it.
You're right.
And so I think one of the things that we sign up for in this industry, if we're good at it, is we got to be available. But there's also freedoms in that as well. I mean, because like you said, which is huge, if you can't be there, and I want people to hear that you will have somebody else there to help that person. And so you're looking at the client first, or the person who's looking for a house. They're the most important portion in this whole transaction, and you're going to make sure that you take care of them.
Oh, 100%. Whether think of the appraiser, the lender, me, the title company. At the end of the day, all that matters is the seller and the buyer. And so those two parties matter the most. And all the rest of us cater to those parties as we should, because we're serving, I work primarily as a buyer's agent. Sure, I have listings, but I work primarily as a buyer's agent. But regardless which side my client's on, I'm serving them and I'm working for them. And that's exactly how this industry should be structured. And I mean, you definitely hit it on the head.
Gotcha. So I know we're running kind of, out of the time here, and I would love to have you back on, and maybe we can talk about, solely the credit, or we can bring on a client or somebody there. Can you please tell everybody how to get a hold of you one more time, and then any other closing thoughts that you would love to share?
Yeah. Again, on the real estate side or credit repair, you can get a hold of me at two different numbers: 720-790-5651 or 720-575-1250. Either or. And then I would say, if you're looking typically I have a little slogan, but seller buy, I'm your guy. And I will take you from the finish line to the end and get you every contact that you need along the way. And then after, I'm not just a one and done type guy. Once you close, text me, call me, ask me for referrals. I'm here to help you. And I think that client-centric mentality has been the reason I've been as successful as I have, which has been great, where I'm doing, frankly, 40 plus deals a year. And I mean, that's a lot of transactions. That's a lot of clients. And I have, of course, a support staff that works for me, and they do an exceptional job, and we're just scaling, we're growing. And the nice thing about this is you have a lot of people in the industry. So this is a little tangent, but I'll throw it in there. But I work for you. Nobody else is showing for you unless, I happen to be out of town, which doesn't happen a ton. So I am going to be there showing for you. I'm boots on the ground, and I'm boots on the ground for you.
Oh, that's so cool. Are you on any social media, or can people find you there? Or
I'm on Instagram. Frankly, my social media presence sucks, but it's mainly just Instagram, and that's the thing I need to work on a bit more. I'm on Google, but that's not social media. But if you punch in seller by guy Brandon Gray, realtor, in Google, you'll find me. But yeah, I need to work on the social presence.
Well, and some, I tell people all the time, if you're doing social presence so you can be famous, that's one thing. But you're doing 40 plus deals every single year, which says, you have a presence where you're getting stuff done. You're not spending time flipping around on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram all the time.
That'd be a time killer. That is a
huge time killer. So again, thank you for being on another edition of the Mile High Real Estate Spotlight Podcast. Hey, 3 things that I say every single time that we do this. One is, you can do this. Especially if you're a first-time home buyer, you can call somebody. You can call Brandon right now. He's going to help you get through. Second is, you deserve this. I believe every citizen in America that is here deserves to have a home. It's part of the American dream. It's something that makes a difference in your life. And third, let us help you. The experts get to help you. It is so important that you don't know what you're doing, especially if this is the first time you've ever done it. Let somebody, call Brandon, call myself, call people that will make sure that they walk you through this, not your Aunt Lenny and grandma or whatever it is who's never bought a house, who've never been down this road. Call us and let us help you. And so thank you for coming to another edition of the Mile High Real Estate Spotlight Podcast. And I can't wait to see you on the next one. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Brian.